Hello, I'm back today with an interesting video, I think, about how gender roles are not just social constructs. And I remember learning that gender roles were social constructs when I was in my undergraduate and taking psychology and sociology classes. And I feel pretty educated on what social constructs are and how they are created in society, trends that are associated with being a woman or a man, and how these things can change. So therefore, they're not necessarily a defining characteristic of a woman or a man. And it's generally really superficial stuff. Like my hair, for example, my hair is short, well, short-ish. My husband has really long hair because he has been growing it and hasn't cut it in like 5 years. So you might look at him and think, oh, he's got long hair, he's a woman, and I have shorter hair, so I'm the man. Silly stuff like that. Historically, shaving trends are another example of gender social constructs. So it's typical in today's world, you see women shave their legs, and more than their legs probably, and wax all sorts of areas. And there was a time where several hundred years ago it was trendy for the men to be shaven. The men would shave their legs and the women wouldn't. Or high heels is another one. You see men in like 14th century France wearing high heels, not the women. And in today's world, I mean, men and women both wear high heels, but it's more typically a woman's shoe. So these are like really superficial ideas around how genders express themselves. And there could be deeper topics to touch on too, like who will provide the childcare in the family dynamic, who will provide the meals and the cleaning, who is going to be the breadwinner. These kinds of, gender constructs that have been set up by society that most people followed for a time, and then maybe there was some rebellion against it. But I'm here to argue that gender roles and cultural conditioning it's not solely a construct. It's a construct in the way that your entire psyche is a construct and everything that makes up who you are is a construct. Though to remove all of this would essentially be saying like you're removing who you are, your ego, your mind, your identity, yourself. When I get down to the root of myself, what really, really, really feels good to me, I love getting in the kitchen and cooking Italian food. I absolutely feel the most like myself when I can be making Italian food, and hopefully a lot of people will think it's delicious and want to eat it. I am Italian in my roots. So my grandfather is full Italian, which makes me a quarter Italian. But I do not know any of my Italian family. I barely knew my grandfather. I met him when he had Alzheimer's and was like at the end of his life. I know nothing about his family, his relatives, never met any of them. My own mother was a pretty typical like 90s mom. She was a working mom. She made convenience meals. She could cook a little bit. She liked cooking when she had the time, and it was important to her that we had sit-down family meals and things, but it was like boil spaghetti, open a jar of sauce, or just simple, straightforward things. Like she'd open a can of clams and a can of chopped tomatoes, and it was clam sauce. And it's simple and it's nice, but it didn't make me feel like we were eating this because we were Italian and this was like our cultural history that she learned from her grandmother or anything like that. No, this was like out of the Joy of Cooking cookbook that many 80s and 90s moms had. And she made that one night, and she made, some sort of shake and bake chicken one night, and then she made chili one night, and it was just kind of part of the rotation. They didn't have any cultural backbone to it or any sort of family lineage or heritage to it. So when I get down to what makes me feel like me, how can I separate that from, centuries of genetic coding that is actually woven through my DNA to make me who I am? How can I separate that from perhaps my soul's journey of what my past soul's journey has been and what my soul is setting up expectations for in this life by coming into this body at this time, I don't think you can. I feel the most myself when I dive into the roots of Italian cooking. That is a paradigm that's accessible to anyone, but my friend down the street who is not Italian, I don't think she's going to get the same kind of joy and lighting up from that experience. I love to cook other foods. I lived in Paris. I love to cook French foods. I like to cook Asian foods. I like to cook all sorts of different things, but there's something about Italian cooking. When I get into Italian mode, it's like I feel this core of my matrix just be like, thank you. That's what I was really needing. It just feels that it soothes my soul and makes me feel more satisfied than other types of creative expression, other types of food, cuisine. And I can't ignore that. I can't ignore that there can be deeper levels of DNA programming from the lifetimes that we have lived beyond mental gymnastics around whether or not shaving or wearing lipstick or having boobs even is your, quote, definition of being a woman or a man. I think it's pretty silly. A lot of the time it gets reduced to childlike arguments, and we have more to do than that here. We have bigger purposes, we have bigger goals, and if you find yourself reading articles maybe or arguing with your spouse about whether or not something is feminine or masculine, or whether you identify as a man or a woman, or whether you're binary or non-binary, like a lot of this is the monkey mind jumping around and preventing you from really getting into your body. When you get into your body and you decide, I'm going to enjoy living in this moment, in this body, you stop thinking of ways to escape it or make it wrong. Things become a lot simpler. You can move forward in your life enjoying the things that you enjoy and not having so many stories wrapped up around it. So I'm here to push back and say, gender roles, gender norms, different names for genders, you are distracting yourself from getting into your body and just living. Like, drop those stories. Those stories are not helping in a lot of ways. They're not. They're just creating a lot more fuel for argumentation, and it's super useful for the politicians. They can hook into that stuff and write articles week after week after week, convincing people to fight with each other. It's not leading to a place of union and a place of feeling harmonized and creating the space to get yourself into orgasm so you can reset your nervous system and really enjoy yourself and your spouse. Your nervous system is getting hit by these stories. It's weakening your nervous system and your auric field to continue to run these stories. And you're not going to convince everybody. So, free yourself, enjoy your life, find your orgasm, and I'll see you in the next one. Please, if you're interested in any type of coaching, send me a message or take a look in the description box on my website, and you can get deeper into layers of imagination, creating your own stories and authoring your own creative thoughts around your orgasmic state and your life with your partner in ways that you most likely haven't thought of yet. I have extensive teachings on this, and I'm excited to share them if you feel ready. So thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.